Oh, hello. My name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. So, I am in the new casa, and I'm experimenting with a couple of different places to film, and considering the contents of today's haul, I thought that filming in front of the shelf that now has all of my Penguin clothbound classics would be appropriate. I'm going to call this, in my mind, Classics Corner, because I am completely corny and that's how I roll. But we'll see how this goes. This is very echoey in here and I'm still figuring everything out. So just FYI, you're going to see a lot of different backgrounds as I kind of figure out the best places to film. You probably don't care about any of that. I should just go ahead and dive into the meat of today's video. And that is that I have a haul for you guys today. And I'm very pleased with this haul because, as per my 2019 resolution, the vast majority of this are books that I'm adding to collections that I have and not necessarily books that I'm adding to my active TBR. There's a couple of pre-orders in here, so we'll address that, but this is definitely, I would call this a classics haul because that is the majority of what is in here. So enough of my yapping. Let's start with some of the pre-orders and like non-classics, and then we'll transition. Okay, so I only really have two books that were either a pre-order or just like not in a collection, not a classic. So the first is The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I have been wanting to dive into some like more classic fantasy this year in terms of like older titles, things that aren't just front list. And my taste in fantasy is pretty specific in terms of like what kinds of things I will or won't put up with in my fantasy. And I think from what I can tell, like pre-2005 fantasy, I think Robin Hobb is one of my better options in terms of like having some success and not being frustrated by misogyny. Let's just leave it at that. And so anyway, I really love these beautiful, like this is the UK edition, and I was putting in a book depository order anyway, so I decided to throw this in. I'm gonna give this a go. I think unless I just like hate this, I'm gonna try to read the first three in this series and then evaluate if I want to continue to the next trilogy, because in this series, it's a series of trilogies basically. So I'm gonna try the first trilogy, we'll see how I do, and if I like it, I might continue on. So hopefully I will get to that this year. And then pre-order wise, I got BLOODWITCH by Susan Dennard. Now I say pre-order, actually this is just a new release I bought. I got online for it at the library and was like the first person to get it. I was like there on release day, but for whatever reason, the ebook format they had was not compatible with my Kindle or my iPhone. I don't know, so I kind of just gave up on that, and considering I think this was like $12, I was like, okay, I'll just go ahead and buy it because I'm really excited to find out what happens next. I don't think I'm going to get to this in February. I'm filming this a little bit before the end of the month, so I think that this will be more like a March read for me, but I am very excited to find out what happens next because based on things that we found out in Sightwitch, I'm excited to see where this goes. Okay, and now moving into the collection portion as advertised of this video. So let's start with my Agatha Christie collection. First off, I went ahead and got Curtain in the Facsimile edition because I really liked this Poirot book. I know that this is divisive in the fandom, but I personally really enjoyed this and was very moved by it. I think just from where I was in my own life when I read this and like having done the chronological reread over the course of about a year, I think I was well primed to enjoy what happens in this book, and I did. And so I wanted to add that to my Facsimile edition collection. And then I got The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie in this gorgeous edition from, I think it's HarperCollins who's doing these, yeah. And these are like cloth-bound editions. There's 4 of them that I know of. I now have 3. And I'm trying to get my hands on the ABC Murders, but that one is proving a little bit elusive. So anyway, this is absolutely beautiful. I really enjoy this little quartet of releases that they've had. So glad to have it. And then in terms of my Everyman's Library collection, I have 2 editions. So first, I have This Side of Paradise from F. Scott Fitzgerald. I picked this up when I was at the used bookstore. It was the only thing I picked up that day, so good job me. And yeah, it's in the red spine, and I'm a little conflicted because I do love the Coralie Bickford Smith cover of The Great Gatsby that I have, and she has like the whole Fitzgerald oeuvre in that cover, so in theory I might want to collect that at some point, but that's not an imminent collection. And since I got this for trade, I didn't actually pay $10. I paid $0 because I had trade credit at the store. Yeah, I decided to go ahead and get this one. So I got that. And then the other Everyman's Library edition I got is in the black spine, and it is the Divine Comedy from Dante. I really love this art on the cover. Yeah, I've had a couple of editions of Dante's The Divine Comedy that you guys have seen coming and going, but this is going to be the permanent one. It is in the edition that I collect, so it makes sense to hold on to it. And yeah, I got this for a very discounted rate, so was happy to go ahead and pull the trigger and get it. And then the pièce de résistance of any of my hauls is my Penguin clothbound editions. And guys, I'm getting like really close not only to being done with the main books like these. After today's haul, I only have one of those really left, though there are caveats there. There's some asterisks of things that are out of print or harder to get a hold of. A couple of other like Indian texts are in this edition, and I don't know if and when I'm going to be able to get a hold of those. But anyway, before we get there, let's talk about some of the smaller ones. So first of all, in the philosophical Penguin clothbound classics edition, I got Civilization and Its Discontents by Freud. Yeah, I've read parts of this before, never read the whole thing. I probably will someday. So I have this. And then I got four additions to my poetry clothbound classics, all of which I'm I'll start with the one I'm least excited about, which is The Tower by Yeats. I read Yeats in college. Little catastrophe here, all falling down. I read Yeats in college and can't say that I loved him, but I'd be open to trying again someday when the mood strikes and I want something kind of different in terms of poetry. I'm very excited to have the poems of Wilfred Owen. I've been thinking a lot about World War I this year just because, I don't know, like there's been a lot of things in the last few years commemorating the 100-year anniversary. I really enjoyed They Shall Not Grow Old, which is a documentary that Peter Jackson did. If you get an opportunity to see it in the theater, I would definitely take it. It is well worth it, or even just at home. But they went through like a multi-year process of restoring archival World War I battle footage, or like footage of actual soldiers, and they colorized it and corrected the speed. So it really brings World War I to life in a new way. Like it really humanizes the footage that we're used to seeing. And I don't think you even realize how kind of abstracted some of that older footage is until you see it corrected to normal speed, and then you just see their humanity so much more. So anyway, that really moved me and kind of connected with me. So I'm hoping to read The Good Soldier sometime soon by Ford Madox Ford. And then Wilfred Owen, I've read a few of his poems before, but these are definitely kind of some of the quintessential World War I poems out there. So I would also like to kind of read the entirety of his collection at some point this year. Next, I got Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. I have never tried to read this aside from like some of the most like famous passages. So someday, hopefully I will get my act together and sit down and focus on that. And then the one I'm probably the most excited about is The Temple from George Herbert, because I really love George Herbert. He's a 17th century English poet. Yeah, I just really connect with his work. I find it very moving. There's definitely like certain poems that have really resonated with me in dark times, so I'm very happy to have such a lovely bind up of it. Okay, and last but not least, I have Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Yeah, this is the second to last in this edition that I need in my Penguin Clothbound Classics collection. I will be getting the last one next month, so that's exciting. But look how beautiful. I love the kind of simplicity of the birds on this one. I remember reading a version of this, and I'm gonna dare say it was probably an abridged version as a kid, and being ambivalent about it, I think if I remember rightly, I preferred The Hunchback of Notre Dame. As a child, I thought it was, I just enjoyed it more. I struggle with the musical. I know people love it. The actual music is good, but as like a whole work, it's not my favorite the way I know a lot of people really love it. Just your mileage may vary. I have very specific taste in musicals, and it's not my favorite flavor of musical. So all that to say, I'm intrigued at some point to revisit this as an adult, knowing what I know, like having had the cultural experience of the musical influencing my perception of it, as well as like the vague impression from my first, probably abridged read as a child not being the best. But regardless, I'm happy to have it as a part of my collection, and I do hope to get to it in the next few years, let's say. So yeah, that was my little classics haul. As you guys can see, I'm very happy that I'm kind of sticking with my stated goal, which is to focus on my collections and not just adding constantly to my physical TBR. So good job me for February. I was moving, so the temptation was much lessened. We'll see how I do once I'm settled in. And now that I have like an infinite amount of book space potential, basically. I mean, not infinite, but I can add so many more books in this new place. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully my self-control will hold. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you did, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. And I think that will do it. Hope you're having a really lovely day, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.